first completing the theory part of cross products. We had started with cross products last time, and then we will be coming to assignment 7 doubts and all that. So I think we had reached up to the point where we saw the formula for cross products in two-dimensional component form, right? But we had not yet seen the formula in three-dimensional component form. Yeah, Lami's theorem is something very easy. That's a different thing. Okay, it's not related to cross product. Okay. So we were discussing vector product or cross products, and to that end we saw that the definition of the cross product was given by this, where n cap is the unit vector perpendicular to the plane of A and B by right hand palm rule. Okay, and we had also seen that if vectors A and B are in the xy plane, then A cross B is given as the determinant of this 2 by 2 matrix into k cap. So when you solve this matrix, it just becomes, when you solve the determinant, it becomes ax by minus ay bx k cap. So this was the method of solving. Okay, so now let's verify this with an example. Okay. So suppose we have a situation like this where we are given a problem in geometrical form. Okay, that is, two vectors are expressed to us, but in geometrical form drawn in the xy plane. Okay. So one of them is, let us say, shown like this, and this is of magnitude 10, and the other one is, let us say, drawn like this, and this is of magnitude, let us say, 12. Okay, now we want to find A cross B. Okay, in unit vector notation. Okay. And express its magnitude and its direction, both the things. Just try this out, people. So you'll realize there are two ways you can do this question. One is you can apply this fundamental definition, try doing the question this way also. Or another thing you can do is you can use this. You can first express the vectors in component form. So convert it from geometry to I cap j cap notation, and then use this also. And ideally you should try it by both the methods and show that they converge. Yeah, determinant Yash is this formula only. When we write an array of 4 numbers like this, it is this diagonal minus this diagonal. So just write down this formula. This is the determinant. So 2 by 2 determinant is very easy to calculate the, I mean 2 by 2 matrix is very easy to calculate the determinant is this formula. Okay. When it comes to 3 by 3, it will be a little bit more complicated. I'll discuss in detail. So anyhow, just try out this question first. Diti, 60 is what basically the... Acha. Yeah. No, not 60 beta. Acha, you're giving the magnitude of A cross B. Yeah, that's correct. Yes, yes, that's correct. But what about the direction then, Diti? Magnitude is correct. Yes. So is the direction coming out of the plane or going into the plane? When you use your right hand palm rule, A cross B, you point your thumb along A and your fingers along B. So where is your palm pointing? It's coming out of the plane. That's correct. So coming out of the plane is which unit vector? It is k cap. No? So when we write it in proper unit vector notation, so that's one way of solving the question, which is very good. So we can find this angle between the two vectors, theta, that theta will be 30 degrees, because the other two angles are, and magnitude of A is 10, magnitude of B is 12. So magnitude of A cross B, AB sine theta, that will become 10 into 12 into sine 30. So that is 120 into half. So that is 60. Okay. So mod of A cross B is 60. Okay. And you can see n cap will be coming out of the plane. So in that case, it is nothing but plus of k cap. Coming out of the plane in this diagram is plus of k cap. So therefore, in vector notation or in unit vector notation, this is 60 k cap. Okay, so this is the proper answer to the question. Okay. And then of course you can say that its magnitude is 60 and it's coming out of the plane. So right, very good. So all of you got this, Kunal, Shweta, Diti, Tej, etc. Now there's another way we can do this question, and that other way is you can write A and B in component form. So if you write A and B in component form, you can see A is 10 cos 30, so that is 5 root 3 I cap, plus 10 sine 30, that is 5 j cap. And similarly, the vector B, you can see, is making an angle of 60 degrees with the x-axis. Okay, so B will just become 6 I cap plus 6 root 3 j cap, right? This is correct. So A cross B we can also calculate from this. It will be, just write the components of A and then the components of B. So now it will become the product of these two. So that is 90 minus these two terms into k cap. So as expected, this is giving us the same result. A cross B is 60 k cap. Okay, so logically and the formula based method, they agree. So everything is fine over here in this. Okay. Okay, so hope both the methods are clear to all of you. Okay, good. Now from this we will move on to three-dimensional this thing unit vector notation. So next thing, A cross B in component form is three-dimensional component form. But before that, I just want to discuss one thing. Determinant of a matrix. Okay, how we calculate this thing. Yes, I will discuss the test doubts also. Okay, so a 2 by 2 matrix is given by this kind of an arrangement. It's an array of four numbers which we can write like this. Okay, you can use any notation, but here a b a1 a2 b1 b2, these are all numbers, and the determinant of this 2 by 2 matrix is given by this process. Okay, what we do in this process is we calculate this diagonal, and then so let's say this diagonal is d1, and then we calculate another diagonal which is this one, d2, and that becomes, so this becomes a1 b2 minus a2 b1. So this value that we get here, this is called the determinant of this 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, in fact for this matrix, the four terms that we have here, these are called the columns. Okay, so these are called columns, and these are called rows. Okay, so 2 by 2 matrix means two rows and two columns. So the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix is given by this formula. So for example, the determinant of the matrix, let's say 1132, this one is nothing but 1 into 2 minus 1 into 3, so it is minus 1. Okay. So this is something that will come up in maths also, in your algebra and all a lot. There's something called Kramer's rule which is applied for solving simultaneous equations. So determinant of matrix is used in that. So those of you are not familiar so much with matrices, you can make a note of this. Now likewise, we also have 3 by 3 matrices. So a 3 by 3 matrix has 3 rows and 3 columns. In algebra and maths, there are various different types of matrices also. There can be like 4 into 2, like that also. But here for our physics, what is important, I'm discussing that. So 2 by 2 and 3 by 3 matrices are important. So this will be of the type, first row has 3 columns, second row 3 terms for each of the columns, and third row each of the columns has these values, suppose. Okay, so this is a 3 by example of a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, now the determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix is given by a slightly complicated process. Any of you are familiar with this? So determinant of this matrix, it's a two-step process actually. It is given by the formula. Now you first take out this term. Okay. So along with this, you take out the first row and first column. So it becomes plus a1 into these terms which are left. Remove the first row, so you're left with this. Okay. Then next, what you do here is to calculate. You have to take out this term. So for that, you have to take out this column. Okay. And remember, the middle term always comes with a minus sign. So it's minus a2 into this 2 by 2 matrix. Now this 2 by 2 matrix will come after removing the middle column. So you have the first and third column. So first and third column will have values like this. Okay. And now similarly, next what you do is you isolate out the third term. So take out third term, again comes with positive sign. So the first and third come with positive sign. The middle term comes with a negative sign. And when you remove the third term, you remove the third column altogether. So you're left with first and second column. So B1, B, C1, C2. Okay. And then the calculation of this is just done in the normal way. That next step, this is this diagonal minus this. So this becomes B2, C3 minus B3, C2. Okay. Minus A2 into again B1, C3 minus B3, C1. And then again plus A3 into this diagonal minus this. So B1, C2 minus B2, C1. So this becomes the determinant of that matrix. Okay, so just note down this formula. Okay, and I will help you out with some examples of this. And most importantly, we will need this for what? For vectors, basically for cross product. So we will practice this a lot while doing the cross product of three-dimensional vectors. So don't worry about the reason for it. You will see when, I mean, it's basically a mathematical formula. Now why that formula works that way is because whenever we see some application of that, it appears with a negative sign. Like we are going to see cross product in vectors just now, and we'll see that that middle term always comes with a minus sign naturally in the cross product from the principle of cross products. So as of now in this formula that I've given you, Rachit, there is no explanation why the middle term comes with a negative. It's just that that's the way it is. But when I show you the application in cross product of vectors, you'll see why that minus sign comes. Okay, यहाँ पे just think of it like a rule. It's a principle, it's a definition, but you'll understand the logic of it when I show it in the application. Yes, yes. You will always have to take the determinant in this way. Okay, so let's do an example of this. This becomes more clear with examples. So let's say we want to calculate, find the determinant of the matrix let's suppose you want to calculate. Okay, so here this will become this will be equal to, now take this term out, so remove this row and column, so it is plus 1. In fact, let's do one. Acha, ठीक है, it's fine. Into this, sorry. So I'm not going to do it directly. I'm just going to do it step by step. So 3210. Okay. Then next we take out this term. So this, but this term comes with a minus sign, remember. So I'm left with these four terms. So that is 0210. Okay. And then finally I'll isolate out this term. So I'll remove this, and again this will come with plus sign, and this is what I'm left with. Okay. So finally this becomes 0 minus 2, 1 minus 2 into 0 minus 2 again, and again plus 1 into 0 minus 3. So this becomes minus 2 plus 4 minus 3. So I believe it becomes minus 1. Okay. So this is the determinant value for that matrix. Just check the calculation once. Okay. And it seems to be correct to me. I'm coming to vectors better, don't worry. Okay, vectors, it will take some time for us to understand how this is applied. But the thing is, the background should be clear to us first, that how to calculate the determinant of 3 by 3 matrix. If that is clear, then the vectors thing will be easier. Okay, thanks, Tej. Okay. So do one more question for practice before we move on. And in this question, we'll take some determinant which has some algebraic signs also. So calculate the determinant of, let's say, x, okay, 2x 0, 1 minus 1 2, 0 minus 2 1. Okay, so here you'll get some answer in terms of x. Okay, x is a variable. So calculate how much the determinant of this is. Just try this out, people. Okay, so the answer is coming out to be how much? Let's work this out. So it's equal to x multiplied by this matrix. Okay. Then minus 2x multiplied with this matrix. Yeah, I'll just check your answers, people. Then the last term is to 0, so it doesn't matter. Okay. So it is x into minus 1 plus 4 minus 2x into 1 minus 0. So it is 3x minus 2x. For me, the answer is coming as x. Very good, that's correct. Okay, so this should be a final answer. Okay, so that was this question. Now let's come back to what we were looking at originally, okay, which is components in 3 dimensions. No, only these two types will come, 2 by 2 and 3 by 3. You'll understand why in just a bit, because you'll see that 2 by 2 was the application for 2 dimensional and 3 by 3 will be an application for 3 dimensional. Only these two types will be there, nothing else. Okay. So if we have a vector, we have two vectors with all three components. Now you can see that A cross B, and we write this will generate 9 terms. But out of 9, a lot of the terms will become 0. Okay. Because so before we open this bracket with distributive property, keep in mind that cross product of any unit vector with itself is 0. So these three cross products are 0. Whereas these are cross products of perpendicular unit vectors. So J cross I becomes minus K cross J becomes minus I, and I cross K becomes minus J. So the easy way to remember this principle is just to remember the circularity in order like this. So if you go along the clockwise arrow, you can see you have the positive sign. If you go opposite it, you have the negative sign. So we'll make use of these formulae over here now. So when we open this bracket, we'll see we'll have AX BX will go with I cap cross I cap, which is 0. Right, let's write it like this. So first term from here, first term from here, that will give you 0. Then you'll have ax by, first and second. Okay, so that will be I cross j. Now this will be your first non-zero term. This will be k cap. I cross j is k cap. Then similarly you have first and third. So that is I cross k, which will be replaced with minus j. And as you can see, I cross k is minus j, like that. Okay. Now similarly, just to keep this, I'm writing the second term with all three here in the like a second row. Okay, so this is becoming second in this with first with that one ay bx. So this will be j cross I. So j cross I is minus k. Okay. Then second with second. So this will be j cross j. Okay. And second with third will be j cross k, which is plus I. Okay. And now the third term here with all these three terms. So you'll have third term with the first one. So that is k cross I, which will give you j. Then third term with second term, which will give you k cap cross j cap, which will give you minus I cap. And then third with third, which will give you k cap cross k cap, which will be 0. So this is the whole thing actually. You know, when you open this bracket, this whole thing has to be solved. Okay. So now in this you can see that this term and this term are 0. Okay. Whereas you can see that this term and this term involve these formulae. Okay. Then next you can see that k cross I and I cross k. So they involve these. Okay. And finally k cross j and j cross k. Those two terms are this. Okay. So replace all the red ones with 0. Okay. And just take color coded terms together. So you can see that your I cap term is coming from these two. So I cap term is coming from this and this. Okay. So you will have j cross k is positive I. So ay bz. Okay. K cross j is minus I. So this will come with negative sign. So this is like your I cap term. Okay. Then similarly, your j cap term, that will come from k cross I and I cross k. So those are these two terms. So this will become az bx minus ax bz j cap. And similarly your k cap terms will come from I cross j and j cross I. So those are these two terms. So I cross j is plus k, whereas j cross I is minus k. So you have ax by minus ay bx. So this becomes the formula. Now, as you can see, this is like very lengthy to solve in this manner. Hence, we will reduce this to a very nice shortcut very soon. And that shortcut will involve the determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay. So this is the formula as such, but this formula is very difficult to implement on its own. So we will reduce this to a 3 by 3 matrix sort of formula. Okay. So just make a note of this and just verify all the terms that I've written also. So now you can see that this can be easily expressed as a sort of a matrix. So if you back calculate this, you can see that this is like this term can be written as I cap into this matrix EY EZ BY BZ. Okay. And if you just take the minus J cap outside instead of taking J cap, you'll see that this will become AX EZ BX BZ. If you don't take the minus sign, then this will be in reverse order. It will be AZ AX, okay, BZ BX. So that's how the minus sign comes. And here, if you take the K cap outside, you can see it's AX AY BX BY. So further, you can see that you can reconstruct this as, so this is like the that determinant formula in reverse order now. So the, so you see AY AZ is coming here, like similarly BY BZ is coming here. Similarly, when you take the minus J cap outside, you'll have AX AZ BX BZ, like that. So this, so A cross B. So this is how we are getting the matrix based formula. It's like a back calculation of this. The actual logic of the formula lies in the properties of cross product, the distributive property, the properties of the unit vectors, all this, the non-commutative property, all these things are put together, but it all reduces to this nice little shortcut formula, which is very handy. Okay, so instead of remembering something so complicated, we just learn it this way, that is the determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix where the first row is the unit vectors, second row is A's components, and third row is B's components. So whichever vector is coming first here, its components come first. Whichever vector is coming after the cross product, its components come in the second place. So this is just one of the uses of the concept of determinant of matrix. It's a very curious thing that this simple arrangement of 9 numbers and its calculation of determinant has a number of applications in mathematics and science in general. Okay, and this is just one example of that application of it that can be used to calculate the cross product very effectively. Okay, so hope it's clear to you how this is working out. So as a quick example of this, let's say we have this kind of a situation. Okay. So what we can do here is, by the determinant method, you can see that A cross B will just be the determinant of a three-dimensional or a 3 by 3 matrix. First row being ijk, second row being A's components, which are 1, 0, and 2, because A does not have a j cap component, and third one will be 0, 3, and minus 1. On the other hand, you can see that B does not have a x component. So next up, this will just become I cap into this determinant, okay, minus j cap into this determinant, okay, plus k cap into this determinant. So this will become minus 6 I cap, right? Then plus 2 j cap हो जाएगा, because this matrix is actually, oh sorry, this matrix is minus 1. So minus 1 into minus j will just give us j, plus j cap. Okay, so minus 1 minus 0, so that's minus 1 into minus j cap, so that's plus j cap, and this one is how much, 3, so plus 3 k cap. So this is our A cross B, firstly, okay. And then magnitude of A cross B will just become square root of, okay, so square root of 46. That becomes our answer. Okay. So mod A cross B is this, but A cross B in proper vector form, in unit vector form, is this. Okay. So we'll verify both the magnitude and direction of this, but I mean, at a problem solving level, if you are given two vectors in I cap, j cap, k cap notation, that is three-dimensional vectors, this is the method you should do. This is the easiest, fastest, and least complicated method of calculating, and this is what you should stick to. Okay, so hope you are all getting the same value. Now there are two ways of verifying this. Okay, one is that the property of this vector E cross B, it should be perpendicular to both vectors A and B. Okay, so therefore just check. So check the vector E cross B, which is minus 6 I cap plus j cap plus 3 k cap, and the vector A which we had was I cap plus 2 k cap. Okay, their scalar product is 0, so therefore they are perpendicular. Now similarly, you check again E cross B, which is minus 6 plus 1 plus 3, and the vector B we had above here, this one, so that is 3 j cap minus k cap. इन दोनों का भी स्केलर प्रोडक्ट चेक करो, इट विल बी 0. The dot product or scalar product is 0, so they are perpendicular. So that checks out. So it is perpendicular to both A and B. So that's how we can check the direction. The direction is correct. Yes, everywhere this will be applicable, na? Because that's the definition. And how to check the magnitude now? See, magnitude of vector A is how much? Root of 1 square plus 2 square. So that is root 5. Magnitude of vector B is how much? Root of 3 square plus 1 square. So that is root 10. And the angle between them is such that is this. So dot product between them is how much now? It is 0 plus 0 minus 2. So minus 2 divided by root 5 into root 10. So we can write that as minus 2 by 5 root 2. Okay, so that is cos theta. So sin theta कितना हो जाएगा? This. So square root of 1 minus 2 by 25. So that is square root of 23 by 5. So therefore, this should be so that is okay, and that is this. So this is also correct. Every time this will be applicable means this is how we calculate cross product. Yeah, this is the determinant method, and that cross product has this property. Na, its magnitude is AB sine theta, and its direction is perpendicular to both A and B. So whichever two vectors A and B you take and you calculate the cross product, it should satisfy these properties. It's true every time. It's the direction of this vector, no? Its unit vector is giving you the direction, and the magnitude is root 46. No, no. coplanar is a different thing, beta. Diti, two vectors are always coplanar. Two vectors cannot be non-coplanar. The question is when we have three or more vectors, if they are coplanar or not. We'll come to that. We'll discuss about that. See, coplanar means lying in a plane. So आप कोई भी दो lines draw करो, they will always have a common plane, ना? They cannot not have a common plane. So when we are talking about two vectors, the question we ask is, are they collinear or not? If they are collinear, that means the angle between them is 0 or 180. So their cross product should be 0. And if they are non-collinear, that is, they are forming some kind of parallelogram, then their cross product is non-zero. Yeah, so that is the thing. So you can check collinearity with cross product. But cross product is not the good way to check collinearity. It's a very lengthy way of checking collinearity. I had given you the trick for collinearity earlier, that if two vectors are collinear, then ax upon bx will be equal to ay upon by, will be equal to az upon bz. So that is the easier way to check collinear condition. Okay. So in fact, you can see the reverse of that happening over here. Okay, so let's discuss about that also next. So this is like an additional property you can derive from cross product concept. If A and B are collinear, that is either parallel or anti-parallel, okay, that will mean that the vector B will be some scalar quantity multiplied by A, where n can be positive or negative. Positive corresponds to parallel, negative corresponds to anti-parallel. So this also means that bxi cap plus byj cap plus bzk cap will be some multiple of axi cap plus ayj cap plus azk cap. So this basically means that ax upon bx will be equal to ay upon by. This will be equal to az upon bz, which in this case is 1 by n, but this is the condition for collinearity. This is the condition for A and B to be collinear. Okay. So now also, if A and B are collinear, okay, that means cross product should be 0, okay, because sine 0 or sine 180 is 0. Okay, area of parallelogram is 0 formed by them. Okay, so let's just check that. So if you put this condition here, no, that A cross B is ijk, okay. Now in this, if we put this condition, okay, so therefore bx is some n times ax, by is n times ay, and bz is n times az. So if you put that condition, you'll see that that will give you 0. Just calculate this determinant now, you'll see you'll get 0, because this will become So each of these terms will give you 0. Yeah. And this is minus nj cap. You can see now each of these matrices is 0. Each of these is giving a 0. So like that. So this has to be 0. So again, that shows that if this condition is satisfied, then the cross product is 0. Yeah, Tej, I'll scroll up for you. You can see that this one is also 0. Each of these determinants is 0 in the collinear condition. Okay. So there are two ways of expressing collinear condition. One is the easier way. So, this is the easiest way to check if two vectors are collinear. But the moment this happens, it automatically implies that this is also true. If this condition is satisfied, then it implies this condition now. So that is about collinearity. Okay. We are talking about coplanarity, and that's also something very interesting. And cross product comes into the picture when we are talking about coplanarity. But the question of coplanarity arises when we are talking about three or more vectors. Okay. Minimum number of vectors we have to consider for coplanarity condition is 3. N is some scalar. Okay, that is a condition for two vectors to be coplanar. Collinear. That one vector is a multiple times the other vector. So if n is positive, it's parallel. If n is negative, it is anti-parallel. But that is the superset of parallel and anti-parallel is collinear, lying along the same line. Okay, understood this. So if ever you're checking that two vectors are coplanar, the condition for it, the easiest method is this one, that ax upon bx should be equal to ay upon by should be equal to az upon bz. Okay. However, the moment that happens, it automatically also implies that their cross product will be 0. So cross product of two vectors is 0 when the angle between them is either 0 or 180. That means the vectors are co-linear. That is, they are lying along the same line. Okay, now let us move on to first completing the doubts. Okay, then we'll come back to a few more things in vectors. Okay, there is coplanarity condition to discuss. There is the test also and all this. So let's come to exercise or the worksheet number 7, assignment 7 doubts. We'll also discuss the test paper. Yeah, so can you just tell me which questions you're having difficulty with in assignment 7? Okay, okay. I'll give you time to write down that part, don't worry. Meanwhile, as you're writing this down, others can just go through assignment 7 and tell me which questions you're having difficulty with. Assignment 6 doubts are also left. Okay, so let's do some doubts from assignment 6. Let's finish that first. So anything pending from assignment 6, please complete that first. Okay, Rachit, I'm coming to that. Is anybody having doubt from assignment 6? Anything still pending? Okay, so let's do assignment 7. Question number 1 we'll start with. Yes, Tej, what happened? Beta? Okay, okay. So Tej has a couple of doubts in assignment 6. Let's complete those on the way to assignment 7. So question number 8 of assignment 6. Just wait a minute. I'll Yeah, question number 8 of assignment 6. Yes, Sweta, I'll come to your questions. Diti, I'll come to yours also. So question 8 of assignment 6 is like this. It says that we have two vectors A and B. E, which is 8 I cap minus 6 J cap, and the vector B, which is 8 I cap plus 8 J cap. Okay. Now I think that we have to find a unit vector, find the unit vector, let's say n cap, which is perpendicular to the resultant. Okay, it is perpendicular to the resultant of A and B. Okay, and in the xy plane. So our unit vector should be in the xy plane. Okay, so first of all, let's see what is the resultant of A and B. So the resultant of the vectors A and B is how much now? It is 8 plus 8, 16 I cap minus 6 plus 8, so plus 2 J cap. So this is the resultant. Okay, now what we'll do is, suppose, let's assume that that unit vector is some x I cap plus y j cap. Okay, so then we know two things about this vector x I cap plus 1 y j cap. The first thing it should be is that the magnitude of it should be unity. So that means x square plus y square should be 1. This is the first thing we know about. Okay, the second thing we know about it is that n cap is perpendicular to r. So what does that mean? That n cap dot resultant should be 0. Okay, so take n cap dot r. So what that is telling us that 16x plus 2y should be 0. So that's the second equation. Now solve equation 1 and 2 and you'll get. Okay, so from this, y is equal to minus 8x. So substitute in equation 1. So 8x, I mean 8x square plus minus 8x square should be equal to 1. So 1 plus 64 x square should be equal to 1. So x square should be 1 by 65, which means x can be either plus or minus of 1 by root 65. So which means my unit vector n cap can be either 1 by root 65 I cap, and if x is 1 by root 65, then y should be minus 8x. So it should be minus 8 by root 65. Okay. So एक पॉसिबिलिटी ये है, दूसरा पॉसिबिलिटी अभी ये भी है दैट x is minus 1 by root 65. Then y will become how much? It will become plus 8 by root 65, because that's the relationship, that y is minus 8x. So in that case, my unit vector n cap would also be minus 1 by root 65 I cap plus 8 by root 65 g cap. So there are two such vectors which satisfy this condition, and the reason for that is very simple, that if you just visualize this problem in the xy plane, okay, so my vector r is something like this. That is that vector, which was whatever 16 I cap plus 2 j cap, whatever that was. Okay. So I could have a unit vector like this. Okay. So that would be which one? Having a negative x component and a positive y component. So that would be this one actually. That would be this one. Or I could also have a unit vector in this direction. It should have a positive x component and a negative y component. That would be this one. This one. So there are two possible unit vectors which are perpendicular to r. So those are these two. Okay, so I don't remember if we have discussed this question before, but this is a good question. Something important over here in your analysis. Just make a note of this. So we'll do this and then we'll do the 13th, I believe. And then we'll move on to exercise 7. Yeah, 8, then 13, then we'll come to exercise 7. So next up, we will look at question 13. So if you finish this one, just go through question 13. Okay, so 13th question is actually very simple if you just recall the concept behind it. Okay, I'll come to that, Harshal. This is because magnitude of that vector is 1, no? It's a unit vector. So root of x square plus y square should be 1. That's why. Understood? Yeah, yes, theory part of this chapter is done. Couple of more things we'll discuss, but they're like, problem solving methods. The theory thing is really done. Okay, so let's come to question 13. Then we'll come back to 11 and this one also. So question 13 says that E plus B is perpendicular to E minus B. Okay. And what else is given? Magnitude of A is 5. Then find out the magnitude of B. What should be the answer to this? Tell me. Yeah, very good. Yes, that is correct. Diya, that's correct. Very good. So how you know directly that it's 5? Without doing any calculation, how you can tell that this should be 5? Because it's the rhombus. Very good. Okay. So if these are perpendicular to each other, that means for the parallelogram of A and B, what is happening? The diagonals are perpendicular. So that means the parallelogram is in fact a rhombus. So this is the easiest way of doing this question. Okay. It doesn't matter what the individual magnitudes of it is. Okay. It could be an acute angle between them. It could be an obtuse angle also. It could be a rhombus of this type also. Okay. But the important thing is that, okay, just a second. Don't know what's happening here. Okay. Yeah. So the important thing is if this side is equal to this side is equal to this side. In that case, the diagonals will be perpendicular to each other. So this is the easiest way of doing this question. Okay. If you can relate it geometrically to this situation, that rhombus is the special case of parallelogram which has this property. The diagonals are perpendicular. Okay. Of course, there is also a more general method of doing this. Okay. You can say that suppose E plus B is some x I cap and E minus B will have to be y j cap because they're perpendicular to each other. So now you can see from these equations, these two, Okay, so if these equations are added, you'll get the value of 2a, and if they are subtracted, you'll get the value of 2b. Okay. So from this, if you now do equation 1 plus equation 2, you'll get 2a is equal to xi cap plus yj cap. And if you do equation 1 minus equation 2, you'll see that 2b is equal to xi cap minus yj cap. Now from this, it will be very easy to show that further. From this, it's very easy to show that magnitude of A will be equal to magnitude of B, which will be, which in this case will become 5. So this is the other way. This is the component algebra method. So it's not as convenient as the geometrical method, but even this is quite okay. Question 7 from assignment 6. Okay, I'll discuss. So there are few more questions people are having from assignment 6. Let's complete that first. Okay. Don't worry, we have a couple of lectures more in vectors before we, so all doubts will be cleared. Don't worry. So let's come back to question 7 from assignment 6 only. Dia has the doubt in this, and somebody else had, I think, question 11 also. Nine and 11, Harshal. Okay. So we'll do question 7, then later 9 and 11 also. Okay, let's try to finish up these questions. So sixth में क्या हो रहा है? Okay, let's come to this. So this is also an important type of question. Sorry, 7. So in 7, it is given to us that the vector E is some unknown quantity Ci cap. Okay. Then minus 4j cap. Okay. So there seems to be some plus minus sign problem, but anyway, we'll take it as minus 4j cap plus 2k cap, whereas the vector B is 2i cap plus 4j cap plus again that unknown quantity C k cap. Now we have to find C so that A is perpendicular to B. So perpendicular condition क्या है? Easiest way, dot product should be 0. So just use that. Okay. So dot product of A and B here you can see is 2C minus 16 plus 2C. So 4C is equal to 16. C is equal to 4. This should be the answer. Okay. But just where A is written, there's an extra plus sign in between. So just cancel out that plus sign. A should be very simply just Ci cap minus 4j cap. It's written plus minus 4j cap. So just cancel out that plus sign. Okay, so that's the 7th question. Now let's come to 9th and 11th. Okay. So you did by the A plus B is equal to root of A square plus B square. Yeah. But see, once you know dot product, you should avoid that method. The condition for perpendicular vectors, you should just remember this, that anytime you're checking for perpendicular condition, this is the one. And similarly, anytime you're checking for collinear, you should remember that ax upon bx should be equal to ay upon by, should be equal to az upon bz. Whereas for perpendicular vectors, dot product should be 0. Just remember these two important things, okay? This one and this one. It'll just save you time in exams. Just to keep these facts in mind every time you're doing revision of vectors for some test or something. Just do a quick recap of these concepts. Like all that rhombus theorem, then the inequalities and like that. Similarly, the condition for parallel and uh, perpendicular vectors. Okay. Okay, let's come to ninth question next. Direction cosine. So this is a direct question. Direction cosine का formula use करना है बस. So question 9, the vector E is given to us as 2 root 2 I cap, okay, plus 2 j cap minus 2 k cap. So the direction cosines, इनका definition क्या होता है? The direction cosines are collectively cos alpha, cos beta and cos gamma. We have to calculate these three. Now you know the formula. Cos alpha is this. So in this case it is 2 root 2 upon. Now from this you can see magnitude of A is 8 plus 4 plus 4. So that is 4. Okay. That is 1 by root 2. Cos beta is Ey by A and cos gamma is Ez by A. So that's it. This is your answer actually, direction cosines. But from this you can also see that alpha will be cos inverse of 1 by root 2, okay, which is how much? 45 degrees. Beta will be cos inverse of half, which is 60 degrees. And gamma is cos inverse of minus half, which is 120 degrees. Okay. And also note one more thing, always cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma is unity. That is a property of direction cosines. Okay, so this is an identity. Like sine square theta plus cos square theta is always 1. So like that. So you can check that that identity is holding true here. It's 1 by root 2 square plus 1 by 2 square plus minus 1 by 2 square. That's 1. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. We'll discuss it. We'll come to coplanar vectors also. Let's first complete all these doubts. Okay. Then what is remaining? Question 11. Yeah, sure. I'll scroll up just a minute. Okay. So question 11 is like a reverse question. The direction cosines are given to us and the magnitude of the vector is given to us. From that we have to find the components and express it. Okay. So the direction cosines are given like this. Cos alpha is 3 by 13. Cos beta is 4 by 13. Oh, sorry, minus 4 by 13. Okay. And cos gamma is again plus 12 by 13. So one thing is you can check that cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma should be unity. If it's not, then there's something wrong with the values given. But here you can check that that will happen. So that is 9 plus 16 plus 144. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so these values are correct. Now also given to us that the magnitude of the vector A is 65. Okay, so naturally Ax will become A cos alpha. So 65 into 3 by 13. So that will become 15. Ey will become A cos beta. So 65 into minus 4 by 13. So that will become minus 20. And Ez 60. So the vector E from this will become 15 I cap minus 20 j cap plus 60 k cap. This is the vector. Okay, so that's done. So I think we are done with exercise 6 now. Anything else pending? Very good. So let's come to assignment 7 then. So we'll start with question 1 of assignment 7. So this is done, people. This one is clear, I hope. Okay, very good. So let's come to all right. So question 1 is saying that a particle moves from the point A to B, the constant velocity of 25 meters per second. So it's velocity vector in component notation. So if it's going from this point A, let us say, which is 0, 1, 2 to somewhere here, let's say, which is 352. Okay. So the displacement vector will look like what? It look like the vector from A to B. Okay. So this is the displacement from A to B. So that displacement will be this. Okay. So the displacement as a vector is in the xy plane. It's not got a z component. Okay. Now the velocity vector, provided is going along a straight line. So assuming that the velocity vector is constant, so it's moving along a straight line with uniform velocity, the velocity vector will always remain like this. While it is moving, So always moving with the constant velocity in this direction. Okay. So that velocity has got a magnitude of 65 meters per second. That's given to us, right? 65 here, na? Sorry, 25. Okay. So now we have to find the velocity in component form. So the idea now is that, see, velocity is along s. So therefore, we can say that the velocity is its speed, which is 25 meters per second, into a certain unit vector, where that unit vector is the unit vector along AB, or the displacement s. So that unit vector can be expressed as nothing but the vector s divided by its magnitude. That's the unit vector. So now my velocity vector is the speed multiplied by that unit vector. So it is, okay, so it is 15 I cap plus 20 j cap, where the components are in meters per second. So this is the velocity. From this we can also say that the velocity's x component is 15 meters per second. The velocity's y component is 20 meters per second. So this is a sort of kinematics application of, this thing, vector relation. So just make sure you write this down. Yeah, test doubts we'll probably manage in the next lecture. Let's try to finish up as much as we can of exercise 7. But don't worry, we'll discuss all the doubts, and also we'll discuss doubts from exercise 3 and 4 from your workbook. I mean, from your module. Okay, so next up, what we are doing after first question, question number 7. Anybody has a doubt before question 7? As a fourth question? Okay. Okay, Diti, question number 4. Okay. So next up, let's come to question number 4. So seeing that n cap is a unit vector in the xy plane. Okay. And then it's also saying that n cap dot I cap, so that is such that n cap dot I cap is 0.6. Then we have to find the unit vector. Okay. So it's very simple. This, just try it like the question we did just now. Suppose is this. Suppose. Okay. So this implies that, okay, so x square plus y square is unity. That's the first thing. Okay. And now this condition that is given, n cap dot I cap, that is x I cap plus y j caps dot product with I cap, which will be x. Now that is given to us as 0.6. That's it. That's done. So now substitute that here. So we can see that y square is equal to 1 minus x square. So y square is equal to 0.64. So that means y minus 0.8, 0. Okay. That means there are two possible solutions. Y can be 0.8 or y can be minus of 0.8. So the vector that we are talking about, it has two possible solutions. It is 0.6 I cap plus minus 0.8 j cap. Both solutions are possible. So this is the unit vector in the xy plane such that its dot product with I cap is 0.6. Doesn't matter if this is plus 0.8 or minus 0.8. This dot product will be 0.6. But it has to be either of plus or minus 0.8 because also the magnitude has to be unity. So not just this condition that dot product is 0.6, but also that x square plus y square has to be unity. So this clear, I hope. Okay, let's move on to question 7 after this. Okay, so question 7, you have to just use that concept that the cross product between two vectors is the area of the parallelogram between them. Okay. So just recall that concept that if you have any two arbitrary vectors, like this angle is theta, then the area of this whole parallelogram is magnitude of A cross B, which is AB sin theta. Okay. So therefore now if you want to cut the area of the triangle, just this triangle, the area of the triangle becomes half of mod of A cross B. Okay. So this is what we want to do here. So here the vector E is given to us as, so in question 7, one of the vectors is I cap plus j cap plus k cap. Okay. And the other vector B is 3 I cap. So now it's saying that if you're forming a triangle using A and B, like this, then the area of this triangle, so that area will be half base into height. Okay. So that is nothing but half of mod of A cross B. So now there are many ways you can do this. Now easiest way in this case is just do this. यहाँ पे B has only one component, so it's very easy. So you see that you get 0, I cross I is 0, plus 3 J cross I. Now J cross I is what? Minus K. Okay. And then plus 3 again, K cross I is what? Minus, is J. Okay. So the cross product is this. I've not used matrix or anything, I've just opened this bracket here. So A cross B is 3 j minus 3 k. So mod of A cross B is 3 root 2. So now area of the triangle will come as half of that. So 3 by root 2. That should be the answer. Okay, so that is the 7th question. Answer is given something else, is it? Let me just check. Yeah, the answer should be C. Instead of B, it should be C. Okay, just make a correction to the answer key. The correct answer will be C. Okay, then next, which question we are doing? 15th, is it? Ninth. Okay, so let's do ninth as the last question for today, and we'll pick up the remaining questions next time. Okay, so ninth में क्या हो रहा है? Particle is, so ninth is again that type of problem beta. Particle is going from this point E, which is -2 comma -4 comma 0, to the point B, which is 4 5 6. Okay, so the displacement from A to B will just become like this. It will be x coordinate of B minus x coordinate of A plus y coordinate of B minus y coordinate of A plus, so यहाँ पे कितना हो जाएगा? It will become 4 minus of -2, so that is 6 I cap, plus 5 minus of -4, so that's 9 j cap, plus 6 minus 0, so 6 k cap. So this will be our displacement vector from A to B, and whatever units these are given in, this is in the same unit. So that's all you have to do in this question, nothing else. So in any case, I think the remaining 5 or 6 questions you try out, because after what we've learned today, you'll get some fresh insight into how to solve the problem. Okay, you can solve the questions just using what you knew earlier also, but with today's questions and today's practice, you'll get some fresh insight into it. So try it out, they are good questions. Okay, and also now try to wind up maximum questions from your this thing also, from your exercise 3 and 4. Okay, so finish exercise 2 3 and 4 from the module. Okay, plus anything pending from um, assignment 7. Okay, if there's anything from 6 also, just complete it up. So try to wind up vectors as much as possible now. Next time we will finish yeah, in chapter the exercises though are simple, you should have done earlier on it also, but now if you haven't done in chapter till now, don't bother, they are very easy questions. Okay, they're just for the basics. Now just stick to these exercise questions. If anything is pending in exercise 1 also, make sure you complete that. So complete exercise 1 to 4 everything now. Okay, so in the next 10 days also, look to complete all the pending things in vectors. Okay, so that's it for today's class, people. Thanks for attending. Wish you all the best, and next time we'll discuss the test paper along with these remaining questions.